Now, Daoud Kuttab is a Palestinian journalist of very great note. He's also a media activist, and he joins us now from the Middle East. Daoud, thanks for doing that. Let's start by honouring the literally hundreds of Palestinian journalists who have been assassinated as a part of a willful, deliberate campaign to silence those on the ground in Gaza whose telephones, whose pens have been the only means by which the rest of the world knows what's happening there in the genocide. There can be few more heroic groups of people than the group of Palestinian journalists. I'm sure you agree.
Absolutely. And I think to begin with, I think we need to explain to your viewers and listeners that the state of Israel has not allowed a single foreign journalist to enter into Gaza for the last 18 months. That means that a single person from the BBC, CNN, TF1, New York Times, Tokyo News, whatever you want to call it, not a single foreign journalist has been allowed into Gaza. Now, yes, there are Palestinian journalists in Gaza, and they, as you have said properly, they have been targeted, clearly targeted. In other words, when they wear the press sign, instead of that protecting them, it becomes a target. The Israeli snipers look for people who are wearing the press vest so that they can assassinate them, kill them. Every single media outlet that has buildings or offices in Gaza has been bombed. So as a result, not a single foreign journalist has entered into Gaza. And yes, a number of Palestinian journalists who are working for foreign media continue to work under the tremendously scary positions. More than 200 journalists have been assassinated, as you said, and the Israelis have never actually accepted responsibility for killing Palestinian journalists. In fact, before October 7th, they killed Shireen Abu Akleh, a Palestinian Christian journalist working for Al Jazeera, an American Palestinian journalist. Until this moment, nobody has paid the price for actually killing her, and the U.S. has done very little to force the Israelis to do anything about that. So as a result, so Israel has complete military control. They're not allowing water, food, and medicine into Gaza. And for 18 months, they've not allowed a single foreign journalist to come in. Now, yes, the journalists there are extremely courageous. They're doing the best job that they can under these difficult situations. But the Western media, by and large, has been forced to accept the Israeli narrative. And worse that, one of the worst mistakes of the corporate media in the West is that they never tell you as a listener, they never put a sign on the television screen, our journalists were not allowed into Gaza. Our TV crew was not allowed into Gaza. If something happens in Iran or North Korea or Russia, and American journalists are not allowed, every single listener will know that the foreign journalists were not allowed into Iran or Turkey or North Korea or Paris or whatever. But because the Israelis are somehow have fooled the Americans in the Western media, they never tell you that. Every now and then they might say that. But I think they should, every single story coming out of Gaza, they should be telling your viewers, our reporters are not allowed into Gaza, and we're working with Palestinian journalists. Most of them are freelancers. Most of them, after someone had died, people pick up their cameras and try to continue work, but they don't have the clout in Western. Let me give you a story. We have a number of hospitals that have been bombed, okay? And the Israelis always claim that under these hospitals, there is a Hamas military headquarters built under the hospitals. And they start bombing a hospital because in international law, if somebody is shooting at you from a hospital and you shoot back, it's not a war crime. But nobody's shooting at them. And there's no military headquarters for Hamas under these hospitals. But imagine if Lise Doucet from BBC or Anderson Cooper was in Gaza, and he stood right there in the hospital and said, I'm there, I've looked everywhere, there's no military headquarters for Hamas. But because they don't exist there, And for the Israelis, the Palestinian journalists are not civilians. They're combatants. Every journalist is considered a combatant, even though international law says that they have to be treated as civilians, even if they are propagandists. So the idea that a Palestinian journalist is being a propagandist does not immune Israel from its crime, its war crime of attacking a journalist. You cannot attack a journalist unless they're shooting at you. But if they're filming, that's not a crime, even if they belong to Hamas, even if they're telling you what Israel considers propaganda. International law, the Geneva Conventions, say clearly and unambiguously, you are not allowed to shoot at them. They're treated as civilians.
Well, they didn't just slay Shireen Abu Akleh, they attacked her funeral. They almost
They did.
forced
They attacked her funeral in
the
Jerusalem.
pallbearers
They tried to bring down her
to
casket,
drop.
and they wanted the
Her casket
Palestinian flag
almost
to be
fell to
removed.
the floor.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
The pallbearers held on
these
to,
are
for the last minute.
yeah, these were and are monstrous crimes, and it is a condemnation of the Western media that they accept being banned from the theater of the biggest story in the world today. The biggest story in the world, and they all tamely accept that the occupation army can order them to stay back and that they will not themselves be allowed to report it. The crimes continued today on Easter Sunday when the envoy of the Pope, the ambassador of the Pope, was forbidden to enter the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The Israeli army boot was placed on the stone on which Christians believe Jesus was laid after the crucifixion, thus desecrating one of the holiest, if not the holiest place in Christendom, on the holiest day in Christendom. And scores of thousands of Christians were not allowed to enter Jerusalem. Yet I don't see much, by the way, of condemnation of any of this, even from the hierarchy of the churches. Go on.
On Palm Sunday, Israel bombed the Anglican hospital in Gaza, hospital owned by the Episcopalian Anglican Diocese of Jerusalem. They bombed that hospital and nothing happened. As you said, a survey just done in 2025, 45 incidents of attacks against clergymen. In 2024, 111 attacks. Israeli extremists spit on priests, they punch them, they attack holy places, and nothing happens because the right-wing Israeli government is bound by the extremely Jewish radicals, racist radicals who feel this whole country, our country, our joint country, if you will, is theirs. And they spit and they attack priests and nothing happens. As we said, they've killed Palestinians. We had 23 Palestinian Christians in Gaza that were killed since October 23rd. The hospitals have been attacked. The churches have been attacked. And every year in the past, people were allowed to go out of Gaza to attend the Holy Sepulchre and Easter. Nothing happened. This year, the West Bank Palestinians were given a choice. They were told, you can choose by going online and we will decide who will go in, and you have to choose only 7 days. So the church week starts Palm Sunday, ends in Easter Sunday. But most people, when they want to visit relatives, they visit them on Easter Monday because everybody's busy on Easter Sunday. So you have 8 days that you really should have a vacation or a permit to visit Jerusalem. So if you choose Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday, you miss out on Easter Monday. If you choose Monday of the Holy Week, then you miss Palm Sunday. And that is if you're chosen. You don't know how many are chosen. And then if you're allowed into Jerusalem, you might not be as the Vatican priest who's not allowed even into the Holy Sepulchre on Saturday. We call it Holy Fire Saturday because the fire comes out of the Holy Sepulchre and it's distributed around the world except to Gaza. The only place that the fire coming out of the Holy Sepulchre that goes around the world, goes to Russia, goes to Ukraine, goes to the US, is not allowed into Gaza. And it's just a symbol. The fire is a symbol of light that coming out of the empty tomb. So what is happening? And then the mystery of all is that the Christian leaders, so-called Christian Zionists, are all around Trump, praising him for his pro-Israeli support. The ambassador, who is a former Baptist pastor, came to Jerusalem and he went to the Western Wall. He didn't go to the Holy Church of the Holy Sepulchre. He went to the Western Wall. You're a pastor. Stay out of religion if you want, do politics, but you visit the Jewish Western Wall, and you don't visit your own church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's just unbelievable.
Unbelievable, all of it. Where do you think it's going to end, Daoud? Is it going to end in the complete annihilation of the Palestinian presence in Gaza, either through death or forced exile, or is anyone going to put a stop to this?
As they say, this is a $64,000 question. Nobody is able or willing to say something about it. They're not willing to stop it, and they're giving the weapons to the Israelis, and they're vetoing resolutions at the UN. And the International Court gave Israel another 6 months to answer the genocide questions that South Africa has put up. We are in deep trouble. We're in deep trouble because even on the Arab side, we're not having the Arabs they give lip service to the Palestinian issue, but they're still not doing what they can to stop this genocide.